Back again, episode 3 of the Paper Plate Show with Stegall and Sanchez. And let's get right into it, Chaz. Great game, maybe the game of the year so far in the CFL. Hamilton, BC, Hamilton won, and everyone knows about all the highlights. But let's talk about the highlight of the year and maybe
Oh,
one of the greatest interceptions in football history, Robert Carter Jr. And I
yep.
know you saw it. I know everyone saw it. You being a former defensive, talk about it a little bit.
That's not an understatement. Saying that that may be the greatest interception ever. That's a pretty bold statement. But as we go through and try to find other interceptions, I mean, I haven't found any. I'm sure we can find some more online from maybe high school or college. There's none because if there were one in the NFL, we would see them. In CFL, we would have already saw them. That was incredible. What was most impressive to me with the Robert Carter interception, as we look at it here, is Robert Carter is outside of the receiver, and he has to somehow get through the receiver, to the ball, and he decides that his route to get through the receiver to the ball is to jump over him.
Right.
And as he jumps, he ends up kind of jumping in front of him, aside him, but his attempt was to jump over him.
Mm-hmm.
He jumps over him, which was impressive. Then cradling the ball with the one hand. And the most impressive part of this is as he cradles it with one hand, he's able to hit the ground, roll on the ground, still cradling while not fumbling the ball with one arm, hitting the ground, rolling, and maintain possession of the
Right.
ball.
Right. Right.
Freaky.
Incredible. Incredible. And the most incredible thing is the man is 5'9". I would love to know his vertical because it has to be spectacular. He was almost parallel to the ground, and as you mentioned, he was able to catch the ball uh, as he's falling, brace himself a little bit with one hand and hold on to the ball with the other hand, and it's amazing. And you know what? Maybe I still think that's maybe the greatest interception. You know what? The second greatest interception may be what he did last year in college at Robert Morris. And you
Yes.
have to see that that's on par with this interception right here. So yes, the game was great, but what highlighted this game was the interception by Robert Carter Jr. I'm sure he would have liked to have it with the win, but that interception, I'm sure that's something he'll remember forever. Back here in Atlanta on ESPN, that was the top play. It was the top play, of course, on our network
Oh, it
TSN, but
was.
it was the top play on ESPN. It's being shown everywhere.
Oh,
That's
wow.
how great that play is. That play will be shown for years to come because that was spectacular. Spectacular play.
Speaking spectacular, real fast. Yeah, is there some? There was a little bit of stuff on the show online. Address you want to address real
Yeah,
fast.
just real quickly. During the halftime of that game, my segment was about how spectacular that first half was, and one of our colleagues, Luke Wilson, he thought my comments were directed towards him, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. I highlighted how great that game was because let's be honest, leading up to that game, some of the games were pretty bad. There were a lot of comments on social media. We've even said some of the games were bad. We talked about the changes that need to be made. Luke was on the first episode of our show, and we all talked about it. And I was just so excited that we finally had a first half that was spectacular, and I highlighted that. So I was never publicly attack Luke like that. If I was gonna need to comment or have a conversation with Luke, it would be behind the scenes. And if I was publicly gonna attack someone, it wouldn't be subtle. You would know if I was attacking you. So no means would I ever do that. Luke is a colleague. We all respect each other. So by no means was that where I was going with that. It was just I was so excited that we had a great first half, and I highlighted that. So just real quickly, just wanted to get that out there.
All right, next, let's talk about another topic stemming from the panel, which was the post game comments from McLeod Bethel-Thompson to Chantel Shand, our sideline reporter. Which, look, we finished the game, crazy game. Macbeth and Montreal get the win. And then Macbeth, as he's talking to Chantel in the post-game interview, and for transparency, how this works, we actually were recording our Sports Center hit
Yep.
post-game.
Yep.
And we get news from the truck that, hold on, guys, hold off on your post-game. We got some comments from McLeod Bethel-Thompson towards you guys. You might want to respond to it. So we have to pause now and say, okay, let's hold off on doing this Sports Center hit until we hear what Mac says, so we can respond to it. And then we find out he's when we hear it, he says something to the effects of, and we can roll it here.
So you got to stay true to colors, TSN panel. Don't say anything good about me. There's plenty of stuff. There's a slant right there. There's a pick. About 4 or 5 plays. So stay true. Don't say anything good about me. All right.
So it really, the part that stood out was keep that same energy.
Right.
Talking to the panel.
Right.
Keep that same energy. Don't say anything good about me.
Right.
And so anything positive about me, which we all kind of looked at each other like, huh? Because I don't remember saying a ton of stuff negative about Mac, other than he didn't play well the prior week, which we're going to say it.
Right.
You said the same thing. I think you said you hadn't even worked a Mac game.
I hadn't even worked a Mac
this
game.
year.
Nope. I hadn't even worked a Mac game. Yep.
So we didn't know where it was coming from. And it's funny, but take a listen to our comments pre-game when asked about what we thought Montreal's chances were with the backup quarterback, McLeod Bethel-Thompson.
Entering the season, if there was one team that I was comfortable with their quarterback depth, and if something happened to their starter, it was Montreal. And then when we saw Macbeth play early, it didn't look like the Macbeth that we're used to. I expect him in this offense. I'm certain he's comfortable now. I expect him to come out and have a good performance tonight.
People are asking the question, is we're putting Macbeth in, can this team compete? Not only can they compete, I think they have a chance of winning this game. It's going to be difficult, but I think Macbeth has played enough. We've seen enough. He's experienced enough where he can go out there and lead this team to victory.
I mean, as you can see, based on our comments, we all thought that these Alouettes had a great chance to win because they had a great backup. But even more than that, I guess my thing is, and this is not just at McLeod Bethel-Thompson, this is at some other players who've also come at us, the panel, the same way. It seems that they come at us when we criticize them. But when we hype them up, we never hear, man, I want to thank the panel. We've heard it maybe once or twice, and for the most part, it's never, I want to thank the panel for hyping me up. It's just when we criticize them, when they don't play well. And I don't know if I'm wrong for saying this, but that's kind of soft in my opinion. You have to have the same energy, as he said, when we're hyping you up as well as when we're criticizing you, because that's part of this business. If you don't want to get criticized when things aren't going well, you got to get you a new job, son. Get you a new job, because that's what we're going to do. When I played, I played in Winnipeg for 14 years, and it was a tough market. The media was tough, but they were fair, and that's what we are. We're tough, but we're fair, and that's all we ask, that you have that same energy when we're being tough. And when we're not being, just have the same energy. That's all we ask.
Yeah. I've come to this point. It's been a couple of years now that I've been at this point, but the reality is I would rather be respected than liked, as in reference to my job. Our job is to tell it how it is. Our job is to be honest. And if you're going to do that, if I'm going to be honest and I'm going to give my honest opinion, whether it's about coaches, about decisions, about personnel, players, all the stuff that we spend a ton of time working at and studying and preparing. If we're going to be honest and give it to the audience honest, then you're probably not going to be liked by everyone, which is okay, because this is not a popularity contest, and our jobs are to analyze. We're analysts, and that's what I had said after the last game. And I'll continue to say that, but I don't, early on, maybe I cared about being liked or wanted the guys to like me. I don't want nobody wants people to dislike
No.
them. But if if anybody, whether it's again fans, coaches, personnel, players, if you don't like somebody, an analyst, because of their opinion, then that's unfortunately the price and the cost of doing business. And that's what I'll say. I'll tell a funny story that I thought was good. I've told you this before, I think, Milt, but it was Jim Trotter is a OG. I think he's in the Sports Writers Hall of Fame now. He was ESPN Sports Illustrated for a long time, but he used to be the beat writer in San Diego. And him clearly understanding his job and what the relationship with the player was. I had my first NFL start was my rookie year and it was against Donovan McNabb. Who else was there? Freddie Mitchell, Donovan McNabb, James Thrash. Those guys, they were good that year, 2001. And again, I had played. This was like week 13 or so. I had played, the last 12 weeks, but I actually was starting. I was starting this game, and I played pretty good, and I felt really good about how I played. Was solid. And then he came in the locker room after the game, and we lost the game, and he asked me, and he had never talked to me. Jim didn't, I was a nobody for him to talk to, really.
Right.
On a team full of stars. And he came up to me and he said, Davis, how'd your first start? How'd you think you played? And I instantly went into, oh, I'm so mad. It doesn't matter how I played. It doesn't matter how I played. We lost the game. I don't care. But in my head, I really was like happy with how I played and it felt good. But I was trying to come off to him like, I don't care how I played. We lost. It doesn't matter. And when I kind of disregarded his question because, for whatever reason, he literally got up and he turned around and he walked away. And he said, thank you. And that was the last time he ever spoke to me. So I find it funny because he saw through what my attempt was. Like, you're not going to give me what I need, then fine. I'll move on to somebody else, which is really where we're at now, or where I'm at now. If somebody doesn't want to talk or if someone doesn't want to participate in what's going on, then we just move on to the next. And there it is. But I thought that was a good one.
We're there. We're going to be friendly, but we're going to be honest, and we're going to give our opinions and tell you how we feel. That's what we're there for. We're not there to make, as you say, make friends. We want to be friendly with everyone, but we're not there to make friends, unfortunately.
Yeah. Chad Kelly. To start the season, there was we thought that there was conversations that he might be ready for the season, and then it was okay, maybe he'd be ready by week 3, and then it was week 6. And where do you think we are now with Chad Kelly and his return to the Argos?
I was never there. Davis. I was never there, and I hate to bring this up. And if you want to see what I'm talking about, you can go on YouTube and see this. But when he got injured, the first person I thought of was Joe Theismann. And Joe Theismann actually started his career with the Toronto Argonauts in the early 70s. He went on to have some success in the NFL with the Redskins. But there, 1985, maybe the greatest defensive player in NFL history, Lawrence Taylor tackled him. And what he did to his leg, it was pretty gruesome. And he never stepped on a football field again after that. I don't think that's going to be the case for Chad Kelly. I hope that's not the case. But the fact that he hadn't played this year, I'm not surprised. And in my opinion, I'd be surprised if he plays at all because of the nature of that injury. I'm not a doctor. I didn't go to medical school, but it just reminded me so much of that Joe Theismann injury back in 1985. And I hate to bring up that comparison, but that was the first thought that came to my head after that injury, after I saw what Chad Kelly went through.
Yeah, I mean, there has been conversations, folks saying that Chad, they didn't think Chad was going to be back at all. So that's added to and you've been saying this for a while, that you thought that injury was more serious than the Argos and Chad were leading us to believe. You've been saying that. Now we're hearing more folks saying maybe that is the case. That would be not a good thing for the Argos or for Chad. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. All right, here it goes. Weekly segment, the mailbag segment.
You've got mail.
Yeah, we have a mailbag. This is from a gentleman named Lauren Goldenberg. His nickname is Goldie. This was his question to us. He said, I just listened to show number 2. Outstanding. Keep it rolling, please. Thank you very much. Thank you, Goldie. He said, I had a comment about your talk on Tre Ford. Completely agree that Cody should be the starter at this point. With that being said, I have been around a few pro quarterbacks in my day. I've always been excited for Tre as a Canadian guy. But aside from his scrambling and running ability, I do not feel he has a great touch on the ball or much zip for that matter. Too many throws lobbed out there, giving defenders too much time to react. Curious about your thoughts on this. I have not heard anyone come right out and say this. Like I said, this gentleman's name is Lauren Goldenberg. He's a sports for performance consultant. What do you think about that, Chaz?
What's his sign, Milt?
What's his sign?
Yeah.
What do you mean? What's his sign?
What's Lawrence? What's Lawrence? He given his profession. What's his
Oh,
sign?
well,
what's
that's
his
on the
favorite
email,
book?
though. I think he wanted us to detail that. What you said, his social insurance number, all that.
Look,
I'm trying to hype him up.
Yeah, for Tre, for me, I want to lead with I'm not counting him out because there's so much conversation and look, we're asked by our bosses and people that run content. That's a story. Tre's story is one that people want to hear. They want updates. They want to know how he's doing. They want to know if he's having success. They want to know when he struggles. It's a polarizing conversation. So we talk about it a lot. And so I think we joked about this the other day. If anybody should be mad at the panel and have something to clap back at, it's Tre Ford.
Yeah.
He hasn't said anything. If I'm Tre, I'll be talking about. I'll be the one blasting us because we're always talking about it nonstop. But that's because that's what we're a lot of times asked to talk about because that's what people want to hear. But I just want to say that I'm not done with him. And he has had his struggles. The upside is there. And when I talk to offensive people around the league, when I watch film on what I see, I do see a lack of accuracy. I do see, I think, predetermined throws. So, but those I don't see a lack of arm talent. But so again, the things that I see that are struggles or negatives with Tre are things that you can improve on. So it doesn't mean look, maybe some think he will never have he'll never have it. Some think that he's just doesn't have it as a quarterback and as a processor and as a pocket passer. Some think he still has potential, which I would lean more to that side because he still only played a few years, in the pro system. So that's where I'm going there. I'm not done with him, but there is definitely some flaws in his game, but those flaws can be fixed.
As you mentioned, if anyone should be mad at the panel, it should be Tre Ford. Especially, I'm sure he hates Milt Stegall, but we talk about him because we've seen some incredible plays out of this young man. Not average, not good, not great, but incredible. And I think the thing you said that really hits with me is processing. And I think what Lauren, what Goldie talked about, I think that's why we see some hesitant throws or lack of great throws is because that processing time. I think when he drops back, he's able to get to his first read. But in my opinion, after that, I think when he's trying to process, if the first read is not there, I think that's why some of those throws may not be as great as they could be because of that processing. So, as Davis mentioned, he has time. Will they allow him to continue developing? That's a question right there because I always say the CFL is 9 teams. 6 of the teams make the playoffs every year, and you're expected to make the playoffs every year. So sometimes you don't have time to develop those quarterbacks. So let's hope that he can get up to speed, because if he can, with his athleticism, he could be something special in this league. But I think that's the problem, in my opinion. That's the problem he has, is just trying to process things, because things happen like that. And if you can't process them, especially at quarterback, you're not going to have any success.
All right. At this time, we had the mailbag a while ago, and now we have the nail gun, Dave Naylor. I am in Baltimore and DC. We were at Commanders camp yesterday, and we're at Ravens camp tomorrow. And so we're here with my man, Dave Naylor, who's on the road with me, my travel buddy. Like I said, joined by our guy, TSN, our colleague, our friend, my roadie, Dave Naylor. We're here in, where are we now? Baltimore?
Yes, we are in, I think
Baltimore.
we're technically in Owings Mills, Maryland. I don't know if this is Baltimore or not, or part of Baltimore. But yeah, we are just around the corner from Ravens facility.
So just did Washington Commanders. Now we're doing Ravens. But we want to bring you and talk. Welcome to Paper Plates Show. We want to talk about your all 22 Canadians. So NFL, explain the project.
Well, this started last year, I guess, during the off season. And one of the things I've been really lucky to do in my career is watch the growth and development of Canadians going to the National Football League. And I mean, the first Canadian I ever covered, his story going to the NFL was in 1992. And so I've really seen the evolution. And for the most part, the early development.
How many Canadians were in the NFL in 1992? Approximately. We don't have.
I'm going to guess there would have been maybe a half dozen. Okay. I mean, when I was a kid, there was one.
Yeah.
The kicker for the Steelers, Roy Garella. Wow. That was it.
And how many are there today?
I believe in camp right now there are 33, and there are a couple of guys that are sitting on the edge, hoping to get signed. Last year, I think there were 37 actually at the start of camp. We're actually down a little bit in numbers. It's amazing the turnover when you see how many guys are out, how many guys are in. So, but the early days of Canadians in the NFL usually went like this. They found somebody with a freakish body, right? Yeah. And they will put him on a practice roster and try to develop him into somebody who could actually play. Mm-hmm. That was the most of the stories, right? Even the receiver I covered in 1992, who did play in the NFL a little bit and got a Super Bowl ring, Tyrone Williams, he was a 6'5" guy. Right, out of Western, and so obviously that attracted attention. But it was mostly, he was actually a bit of a unicorn in those days because it was mostly linemen. Right. Not to be disrespectful from linemen, but they would find somebody with.
Back to your point about the size, the genetics, whatever that was in project.
A 6'6", 280 guy who could move, and that'll always take that guy.
So this all 22, the Canadians all 22 team, where are we at now with this?
So what happened was we realized that all the size. Not only do we have great numbers of Canadians in the NFL, but we had positional diversity like we've never seen. And I started thinking about this, and all of a sudden, just one day went off in my head was like, I wonder if you could do an all 22 depth chart of nothing but Canadians in the NFL. So I sat down and started, pulling names and plugging guys. And I want it to be authentic. Like, I don't want to stick, a guy who plays linebacker at safety. Sure. And you got to actually be the position. Sure. You have to have played at some degree that position.
We'll pull this up there. You can see the list of the all 22 now, and myself, Luke, and Farhan.
We all had to take on. Forrest worked on this. Yeah,
we all worked on this one. But Dave, this has been Dave's project.
Right. So we've done it 2 years in a row. The big difference between this year and last year was 3 days into camp, Nathan Rourke got cut, and we had a hole at quarterback. And it's kind of a glaring hole when you're trying to do a depth chart. And so this year we got 2 of them. We got his brother, Curtis Rourke, and we have Taylor Elgersma at Green Bay out of Wilfrid Laurier. So we actually have a little bit of quarterback depth. But yeah, so we presented our all 22, and this is something we want to do every year. It really helps us sort of track, not just individually, but sort of as a group. And the positional diversity is the thing that has changed wildly in the last 10, 15 years. You've got Canadians all over the field. In the National Football League in ways we have never seen before.
Anybody stand out on this list for you, Milt? I know there's one guy that you want to talk about that you think has a pretty big year. Who's a
Yeah, I got to go to my former team, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the starting running back, Chase Brown. And you think about Canadian running back in the NFL, and Shucks. You think about Canadian running back in the CFL. How long has that been since we've allowed that or not allowed that? Well, a Canadian was able to step in and do that. You think about Brady Oliveira.
Shout out to Orville Lee, by the way.
What's that?
There we go. I said shout out to Orville Lee.
Oh, you're going way back with that one, Chaz. Yeah.
1988.
Wow. Yeah. But now Canadian running backs in the CFL is not a big deal. But let's focus on Chase Brown. Last year, over 900 yards rushing, and in this offense with T. Higgins and Chase Brown and the quarterback they have, Joe Burrow.
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase. Yeah. I'm thinking 1,400 yards. So it's good to see these Canadians having success in the NFL. And I think the thing is why you're seeing it, why it's so prevalent now compared to when I first got in the CFL, I think it's because of the training. These guys are getting the top-notch training. They're getting it not only in the States, but they're getting it in Canada also. You don't have to come down to the States to get it anymore. You can get that top-notch training in Canada, and you can be on par with what the guys are getting here in the States. So I think that's the main reason why you see so many Canadians getting their opportunity to play in the NFL. It's good to see these guys are getting this shot. So I'm just excited for what these guys can do. And I'm excited to see what Chase Brown can do for my former team, the Cincinnati Bengals.
I wanted to ask you about the correlation right now. All the Canadians in a position, you've mentioned this, the variety,
the diversity of position,
of positions. Now, not only we see this on this roster, the NFL players, but also in the CFL now.
I think you really see the blooming of Canadian talent in both leagues kind of happening at the same time. And you guys played in the league where, I'll use Canadian receivers as an example. Canadian receivers were, with exceptions, the underneath throws, right? Or the decoy on the field side, right?
The receiver fly and dive versus cover three. Yes.
Right. And when the game was on the line and there's 2 minutes left and you got to get 75 yards down the field, you weren't looking for the Canadian in the seam 30 yards down. And that is another thing that I think you see again exploded. You've got in the NFL, you've got Josh Palmer, the Bills' big addition this year is a Canadian kid from Brampton, right? John Mechie, of course, was a second-round pick.
Alec
Aymanar goes to Tennessee this year as a receiver, and we've had Chase Claypool and other guys.
Josh Palmer. I
did mention Josh, but look in the CFL right now. Look at we talked about Justin McInnis being the leading receiver in the league. And you look at guys, Sam Emulus, Kevin McCall, Hurley Giddens Jr. There's just so many guys that there's like a second wave now of depth. And I think, even the pedigree, when you talked about Chase Brown, the two running backs we have on our depth chart are Chase Brown and Chuba Hubbard. Okay. And honestly, when I was a kid, this stuff, what I'm about to say would have sounded like men from Mars have landed. Okay. But one of them, Chuba Hubbard, was an NCAA rushing champion.
Right.
And the other one, Chase Brown, led the nation in rushing to like week 11, and finished second. To have two Canadians, think how big NCAA college football is. Think how many athletes there are playing running back in the NCAA at the, FBS level. And Canadians, within a couple of years, we have a rushing champion and a runner-up rushing champion. That's pretty high pedigree for our depth chart on the All-22.
Yeah. And the fact it's not a throw-in. That's what makes us feel good, especially right now, because we're talking. It's not us just
fawning over guys because they're Canadians.
Like you said, a pedigree. What these guys are doing. Like we're talking about Chase. We're talking about Chuba. We're talking about Josh. Like these are guys who might be the biggest impact players on offense on their teams. It's different. It's great because. I think the evolution is pretty impressive.
You've seen the analytics on Josh Palmer when it comes to separation and route running and all that. He's top 10 in the NFL. Right? That's why the Bills went out and got him.
Quick question for you, Dave. How many Canadian-born NFL players have been All-Pro? Do you have a stat on that, or?
No, and this is, you bring up an interesting point, though. I'm going to go at is when you look at the Canadians in development of all the four major sports, right, which is vastly different from when I was a kid. It was a handful of guys in Major League Baseball, nobody in the NBA, And what's happened in baseball, we've had Justin Morneau, right, won an MVP. We've had Larry Walker, I believe he was an MVP. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
In basketball, right now, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is the reigning MVP of the NFL. We've had Steve Nash.
Right.
The one thing we have never produced in football is a legit superstar. I'm with all due respect to Chase Brown and Chuba Hubbard. They're not in that conversation yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, for all the talent we have, that we just haven't had that guy who's just like, he's one of the best of his category in the end. I don't think there's ever been a guy like that. We've had lots of good players, but there's never been an NFL superstar from Canada.
You're sitting right next to one. You're sitting right next to one, Dave.
Well, I mean, look, and I would say there were guys that had flashes, right? I'm not saying they weren't for a time.
It was a real quick flash.
No, one time we're going back to Ruben Mays and guys. There have been guys that have flashed and been the best at what they've done for a time.
Right.
But there's nobody you would put in that conversation like a Steve Nash, a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, or Larry Walker, those guys. So
it's coming.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the next thing we're looking to see is guys breaking through to that top level. And I don't have a number for you on All Pro. I'd have to think about that a little bit, but it would be rare if it's occurred.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Travis Kelce did a cameo in Happy Gilmore 2. Is there any movies that what's a movie you would want a cameo in? You got any?
Yeah. I think if they made another Black Panther, I'd be in that. They could have me on the board of trustees, the Wakanda board of trustees, and my name would be the Touchdown King. I'd be the Touchdown King. The Wakanda board of trustees, baby. That's where I'm going.
I love it. Well, they call with that new release of Fantastic Four, sometimes they call the panel the Fantastic. Other people have other names for us, but we have the Fantastic Four.
I like it. I like it.
Like that. That was nice. That's a nice graphic they built.
That's beautiful.
That's nice.
Yes.
We have a great team. We got a great team.
Shout out.
Yeah. Shout out to the crew. Beautiful. Well done. That's good. All right. Destiny's Child reunion. Queen Bee brought out Destiny's Child in her last show of her tour. I know. I'm pretty sure your wife Darlene is a big Queen Bee fan.
Pretty sure.
She
oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's how much she loves Usher, but she loves Beyonce more than Usher. She's a big Beyonce fan.
Yeah, you guys were there. She was there.
She went to Cowboy Carter tour, and when he was here in Atlanta, her and her friend, so they went all out. They got their cowboy boots and their cowboy outfits on, so they went out. So I'm sure she's excited when she heard that Beyonce brought out the other two members of Destiny's Child. I guess they've always been together. I guess they just reunited or whatever, so they're excited about that. Do you have a favorite Destiny Child song?
No, I don't really do. My wife Veronica, I'm sure, like she loves same as Darlene. She loves Destiny's Child.
You know what Veronica's favorite song is? Can you pay my bills?
Yeah. Probably. It's also my favorite song. So there you go. That's the case. Anyway, that was good. That was it. That was fun. Thank you. Thanks everybody. Another episode of the Paper Plate Show with Stegall and Sanchez. You guys been awesome. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for rocking with us, and we'll see you next week. Let's go.
Paper Plate Show.